Welcome back to a brand new episode. I'm going to try and just hit on topics at the minute. So stuff to help people get into the game, stuff to maybe help veterans just with ideas. So this week I'm going to be talking about the top 10 Dungeon Master accessories, just to make the game a little easier for you if you're new, or maybe some ideas for veterans as well. Obviously you're going to have your own ideas and own way of doing things, but let me know if any of these 10 have been helpful. These are going to be things that aren't essential, so stuff like pencils, paper, even the player's handbook are pretty essential in starting your game, so none of that kind of stuff will be on here. And we're going to jump into stuff that, at number 10 we're going to start, it makes it easy, you don't really need. By number 1 I would suggest you do pick up. Coming in at number 10 I've gone for dice bags. Now these are the least essential thing on this list. They're probably not even needed in general, to be honest, but dice bag is basically what it says, a bag to hold your dice. Now this one is one my girlfriend made me of a beholder, which is awesome. The eye stalks are the drawstrings for the bag. Really cool, just holds all my dice, well I say all. Holds 10% of my dice. There's also Critical Role do their own ones when you buy a set of their dice, something like that. You can find a design of pretty much anything. So those are some examples that I've got lying around. Basically, the only reason you're going to need that kind of thing is either to divide stuff up. So let's say you're playing with people for the first time. You can give them their own dice bag full of dice, so everyone's got their own set. Or if you travel a lot, you travel to play, obviously not right now because of the current climate. But normally if you travel into game shops, popping one of these in your bag is perfect so there aren't dice rolling everywhere. There is the alternative of like wooden boxes and dice trays and stuff to hold them, which are helpful. Coming in at number 9, I don't actually have any to hand, which is, I know my girlfriend will, she's got stacks of the stuff, but post-it notes, sticky notes, anything like that that you can take quick notes on and you can stick to something. For example, let's say one of your NPCs die or they're injured, or it's something you need to remember. You can make a quick note on a sticky note, stick it to your book, which you're writing your adventure in, and then you can come back to it later. You can also use it to track, so you can put people's names on and you can change the orders for initiative, stick it to your DM screen so they can see it as well. There's just so many different uses where you can use these. My favorite is writing a private note. So let's say somebody knows information nobody else does, or you need to get them some information without other people knowing. A post-it note is perfect for that. Coming in at number 8, I've gone for terrain. So you can get stuff from Papercraft, WizKids. There's so many different ways to do this. They have recently announced Papercraft buildings, which do look a lot of fun, and I would suggest picking them up as they're cheap alternatives. Otherwise, you have got the 3D stuff from WizKids, which they bring out with their Warlock Tiles. You can get tables, you can get armor, you can get chairs, you can get summoning circles now, which light up and have effects. The thing is, D&D is about your imagination, so you don't necessarily need these things, but the effect when you bring out a massive set piece with all the trimmings is just unmatched in D&D. The hype of the players, it really adds to the aspect of it. Something you can see for combat is always the best way to go. You don't have people asking 5 times, where am I now? Am I close enough? What's near me? What's in the area? It just takes away that aspect, and I think stuff like this just really adds to it. It makes the set piece and it makes it worthwhile. The Papercraft stuff is great for towns. So normally you wouldn't draw a map or build a map for a town. A lot of it is role playing, but let's say a fight breaks out. Papercraft is the perfect way to do that. You can take the roofs off, you can see inside, and you can actually move around. Not only is it a great invention, it's just a really cool new way of doing things. So it's designed for the Frost Maiden stuff, so it's a little more snowy. But I'm sure they're going to keep doing it. Hopefully it's had good reception, because I do think it is one of their better ideas. Coming in at number 7, I do think this one is handy, although I don't have any myself, but it is spell templates. So you can also buy these from WizKids, or you can get some cheaper versions. But basically when you cast like Fireball, it will show the radius, so you can hold it over your map, see exactly who it hits, which I do think, especially for first time DMs, is very helpful. Some of the spells can be a little confusing how they work. Stuff like burst and radius and range and just working it out can be a little difficult when you start. So I think these are good to use. I think they're good to use anyway. You can work out your radiuses, you can work out your cones and stuff like that. They've got tons of different templates. You can get some where they're just a ring, so it'll be like a fiery ring like that, so you can actually place it on the map. There are some where it's like a glass, see-through glass type thing, or plastic. You hold it over the top and you can sort of work it out that way. I do prefer the other ones just because you can put them on the map and you're not knocking stuff. My one pet peeve is stuff being on the battlefield knocked around, so it's a little iffy with some of them. But that is my number 7. I do think they're quite useful and probably slightly more important than terrain. Now, I am a big fan of gadgets, so any that I can get, especially for D&D, I'm going to pick up. I saw these, like most people, in Critical Role, but it is the combat tiers. So basically, in a set, it's I think it's the Paizo Combat Tier is what it's called, if you're looking for it online. But you'll get a ton of different, you get 2 sets of these, basically. This is how quick it is. You pop that on there, pop that on there, and you're done. And then you can fly something on it. I've got a beholder sat on my desk, so basically that's how it works. So the beholder could be flying, but you could still have combat and movement going on underneath it, which I think is actually quite important. It's important to help you remember that type of thing. The amount of times I've had one of my villains hit when I've said it was flying the previous turn and just forgot. So I think this kind of thing helps memory. I think it looks cool as well. The fact you could have a giant dragon. This stuff will hold it as well. I've got this guy here, which I tested it with. I've got some bigger dragons I've tested it with. These are sturdy things. They may not look it. It is just some see-through transparent plastic, but it is quite strong. And the design obviously works really well because it can hold a lot of big stuff. That's one I've only picked up recently. I've not had a chance to use in game yet. I'm super excited to try this, and that is my number 6. I probably should have said this at the start, but this kind of thing isn't essential. If you're just getting into the game, don't take this video as you need all of these things. These are stuff for veterans when you've been playing 10, 15 years. And instead of buying dice every week, you've got something else to buy. You've got terrain, you've got dice bags, you've got other stuff just to enhance the experience. So don't rush out and buy all this. This is just some examples of stuff you can pick up to improve your game. Now, we have already mentioned DM screens and their importance, but they are my number 5 pick. Again, it's a thing not essential, but it does help you hide some miniatures, so you can set it up like this. You're normally sat behind it. Lets you hide your miniatures, hide your rolls, which does add some... It adds suspense, but also you can play around with the rolls if you need to. But also another really handy thing about a DM screen, if you've not used one, or you're thinking of picking one up, is this. So basically, on the inside of a DM screen, it has tons of really quick information to access. So it's stuff like how restrain works, names if you need them for NPCs, charts to roll on. You got all the condition effects on this one. And then on this last one, again, you've got charts you can roll on and pick stuff from. So you can create characters on the go. Basically, it helps you do stuff quickly, which can be very important, especially because D&D is a lot of improv. Something like this is so important, especially for first-time players. Like I said earlier, I do also like to hang little notes on here so I can keep track of stuff. You can stick your post-it notes to this on the inside. You can hang the initiative order on top. There's just tons you can do with them. They are normally quite cheap, £10 to £15 or dollars. They're very easy to pick up as well. That is my number 5. Coming in at number 4, I have gone for the dice tray. So this is my old one here. I got this for I think it was my birthday, God knows how many years ago now, from my brother. It's the Ultra Pro. It is just basically a tray. It's got a ton of my dice in. The best thing about this is, and I do think you need one for the DM, and then I wouldn't say one per player, but at least one to share. The reason is you don't want dice. The sound is annoying, but also them sliding off the table, them going everywhere. You roll them in here and they're not going anywhere. You can easily see them. You can roll multiple dice, and it's so much tidier. I can't explain how much I appreciate dice trays. But yeah, please, anyone that plays the game, get one of these or get something to roll on anyway. Dice sliding off the table is annoying. The sound of loads of dice rolling is quite... Yeah, just get a dice tray. If you get one thing off this list, get a dice tray. Coming in at number 3, I've gone for the spell and monster card. Now, I would say the spells are a lot more important, but basically, if you don't know what they are, I've got one to hand here. For an upcoming adventure, spoiler alert, if my group watch this, basically, it's just a bit of laminated card. The monsters have an image on the back and then all their stats. It's really easy to check. It's also laminated, so you can write on it and then rub it off. I wouldn't leave it on too long. I've never tested it, so you can do that. And the spells is, whenever I've played, people don't like writing stuff down. They don't like doing stuff. So anything you can take away from the players needing to do is good. Other than inside the game, they like to do that stuff. I just mean the outside admin stuff. So basically what you would get is this. So you get a spellbook for a certain class. That's the bard one. I've got them all set on my desk anyway for some reason. We are currently playing online campaigns, so that's why my desk is full of D&D stuff. And whenever they pick spells, you can just give them the cards. You can keep them in a folder. When they want to cast something, they know exactly where to go, exactly what it does. It's just so much easier than scrolls. Oh, I've put Fireball here. It says 12d6. That doesn't sound right. Check it through the player book. It's not. He's wrote it down wrong. Saves on time, makes stuff easier. And it looks good. They do look really good. These cards are well made. Yeah, just a great invention. So glad they brought these out. And I would suggest picking these up quite early on your list. My number 2 is probably quite an easy one to guess, as it's not been mentioned yet, but it is battle maps. So there's so many different types you can use. What I've got here is something called Loki battle maps, which is, I would say, probably the best if you're going to be buying this stuff. What they have is like a flip chart of books. You get 2 of these in a set, so you can just create randomly generated areas like every time. You can change them around, you can buy more, customize them. So they sell scenery packs where you can add different bits to customize them. This is a really quick, but it looks good. It's like a professional way of doing it as well. Now, going further down that rabbit hole, spending more money, but Warlock Tiles do give you a really good looking dungeon. That's all you can build. You can build dungeons, you can build rooms. You're not going to be able to add those really cool customizable bits you can draw or add onto your Loki battle maps. So I would say for a set piece to bring out maybe maybe a year, depending how often you play, once a month. Like, to play in this with 3D with all the scenery and stuff in is going to look incredible, and nothing will compare to that. But I do think this is quite a specialty, something you're not going to use as often. I will do a video particularly on maps and battle maps and maps in general, just because of how sort of a contested subject it is. There's just so many variations. I'll go through them all properly, but this is my number 2 pick. Some kind of battle map. Coming in at number 1, probably the most important. You don't need these, but I have never played a game without them. I do think they make combat so much easier. Having the map and then having some of these guys. So you don't necessarily need the official D&D miniatures. They do look, I think there's very little out there for the price is as good as this. But you can pretty much use anything. So let's say you've got, I don't know why I've got Pokemon here. I've got a set of Pokemon. You could use that. You can use action figures. I've got this Demogorgon from Loot Crate here. You could use, I mean, I am going to use that. It's from D&D anyway, so that's super cool. Just, you can put anything in. It doesn't have to be a miniature. I've got a box here of old World of Warcraft figures. So they used to do a miniature game / card game. I'm going to be using this for a Krampus, which I think looks awesome. They've just got a ton of cool stuff. You can find, there's Pathfinder, or yeah, like I say, just old action figures of giant dragons. There's just so many variations of what you can use. You can use Pogs, you can use Starburst. You can use don't use Starburst. You can use what you want to sort of signify. It just helps working out distances on spells. If your groups are more into role playing, it's not necessarily going to be important. I think most groups should have a mix of combat and role playing. And there's nothing to say you can't have the role playing in the combat. I think having a board with miniatures on lets you think about that flavor stuff rather than worrying, oh, am I close enough? Who's this going to hit? Is it going to hit friends if I cast it? I just think it clears that stuff out so you can focus on the game, you can focus on the flavor, you can focus on how you're going to kill them rather than if you're able to. The other really cool bonus of something like miniatures is you're coming to the end of a campaign or a story arc in your campaign. Maybe they've been hunting a big red dragon. They finally get to its cave and you get to slam down something like this for them to battle. It's one of those exciting moments where everyone reacts. It adds so much to the game. That's why I think having cool minis like this isn't a necessity, but I do think it adds so much. It's worth having, it's worth doing. So that is my number 1 pick. But those are my top 10 DM accessories. Let me know if you think I've missed any. Let me know if you think any don't belong on here. Dice bags, I would agree. Otherwise, if you're enjoying this content, enjoying the D&D stuff, maybe leave questions for next week's episode. But if not, I will see you in the next one.